Welcome to Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce Let's Talk Business podcast with Tabitha. And today I'm here with Miss Leandria Thompson, the president of the chamber. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I know it's been a cool morning so far for me.
It's been a great morning, full of information.
Yes, absolutely. But first, we're going to go ahead and thank our sponsors. Southwest Airlines is a proud air travel sponsor of Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, and also Permacore Business Solutions. I want to give GMTradio.com a shout out because they really do. They've kept the doors open, have kept us on the air.
Yes, thank you so very much.
This is awesome.
Such an essential part of our lives, isn't it?
Because everything has changed, so now we have to really look at how do we do things slightly different. And he was able to give us an opportunity to continue to disseminate our information to our listeners and everyone who's counting on us.
Yes.
And that's pretty good. I think that's awesome. He's a wonderful person to work with.
Yes, we appreciate him. And I also want to talk about one of our sponsors, Southwest Airlines.
Yes, let's talk
about it. Southwest Airlines they're keeping the air going.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And they have taken a lot of measures for air passengers to be feel safe and want to gradually get back to more. Some flights right now are essential. People have to travel. Yeah. So they keep us abreast on the fact that they are making sure that passenger feels safe.
Well, that's awesome because my mom's getting ready to fly down here because we've got some things we've got to take care of.
Well, she's flying Southwest.
Yes, she is flying Southwest. That's why I was like, oh, cool. So they're making, they're putting safety precautions in place?
Yes.
Absolutely. So in that case, then I know that she's going to feel a lot safer when she's traveling.
She's going to be very safe.
Awesome. So
and probably the plane will probably get here faster.
Right? And half empty.
Well, with less, that's what I'm saying, with less weight. Okay.
Like we left some of the other people back. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So that's cool. So let's talk about a couple of things. One is that I want everybody to know that because this is our first week, we finished on a radio show.
Hey,
we did it.
Yes.
Wow, that was an experience for sure. The first day was a little challenging, but I got through it, right?
Yes.
And then at the end, by the end of the week, I felt like, oh right, I did it.
Well, it's exciting because Tabitha members are listening. One of our newest members called, he sent me a text saying, I heard my name on the air. And I'm like, well, the only way you could have done that is you were listening.
Right?
So we appreciate that. We appreciate our advertisers. These are members who are basically keeping their business out.
Yeah.
This is a marketing opportunity for our members and even anyone who is a business owner and want to be able to keep the word about them out there, gain new customers, let people know what it is that you're doing. And if they don't know, and I think radio is, or at least broadcasting is one of the best ways of getting information out, especially with social distancing right now. People are listening to everything.
Yes. And that's true. And so I like the fact that people have, so right now we are finding out more and more people who are doing right by us, right?
Yes.
So what we're finding is that I support small businesses. I'm a small business myself, right? But every day I actually make a purchase to some small business. And I just did one right before I got here. And I said, I'm supporting small businesses.
Great.
And I sent her a message and I was like, okay, so tell me how much that is. And then she's like, when do you want to deliver? Okay, Saturday, no worries. Okay. So the point is that people who are doing right by us, we want to continue to support. Right. And especially in a time in which a lot of people feel as though they're not being supported, right?
Right.
And so this is going to shake out some of the people who have really, really bad customer service.
Well, I think if it doesn't shake them out, I need to shake them up.
Yeah, there you go.
To where they realize, okay,
I like that.
I need to be doing business.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I wanted to bring to the forefront is that this is a disaster that really is not different from the word disaster.
Right.
We have hurricane disasters, we have fire disasters, we have disaster, period.
Right.
And I think that a lot of times we forget of what happened when a disaster took place, how we pulled together, how we kept it going, and how we, forged through. And I think small business, and remember we talked about the assumption.
Yeah, I know.
Small business does not mean itty bitty little.
It doesn't mean a solopreneur. It doesn't mean that you have no employees. It just means that I think it's a financial thing.
It is. It's a financial, and $30 million is the benchmark. So if I'm doing $20 million a year, I'm considered small business, but I'm big business.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm a big business for me. So the word small should not be taken to measure.
To be little, to make you feel little.
Yeah, to measure quality.
Right.
Or quantity.
That's awesome. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So you're just starting off with something.
This is
and
true.
If you had 120 million like FedEx, you start off big, right?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody needs to read the story about FedEx, how FedEx came about. So I want to say, right now, what I recommend that a business does is to document what they have been experiencing. Especially for members of Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, because we're going to help guide them through this experience.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that's important for everyone that's listening, because data is what helps us to identify where we need to go and how we need to get there.
Exactly.
So documenting your struggle or the challenges you have encountered during this pandemic is actually very important, so that when something else similar, either less devastating or more devastating, you'll be able to understand exactly what's necessary to overcome it. And then build your community now, right?
Yes, this is an opportunity to document and learn from this one, because when we were talking about the PPP, Paycheck Protection Loan, right?
Yeah.
A lot of small businesses that are independent contractors were kind of lost. They were lost out because they didn't have the information, or they number one assumed.
They made an assumption.
And
they didn't get enough of the information in order to understand what their part was in that, and how they can achieve that.
Yes, definitely. In any kind of disaster, the one thing you need to be able to remember and document from this experience is that do not make assumptions as to whether or not you are entitled or there is an opportunity for you to be able to get relief.
Right, that is true, because there was a lot of people that missed out on it.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that actually applied. That was one of the things I talked about this morning. Is there was a lot of publicly held companies that had access to capital that actually did apply for the PPP.
And they wasn't supposed to.
And they got the money. However, once the SBA went back and there was a review and an audit, and which everybody needs to understand is that there is going to be, you are going to be audited, or have the potential to be audited for when you take this money. And during their checks and balances, they found that there were a lot of companies that received that money that should not have.
Yeah.
So they have actually been told and strongly encouraged to return that money so that they can apply it to where it's supposed to be.
Yes. Well, for the small business owner, don't assume that it does not include you.
Yep.
It does include you. And please don't assume that it's ethnicity involved.
Yeah.
And when it comes to an American citizen, and when it comes to a taxpayer, I have never seen them say black taxpayers, Hispanic taxpayers, Caucasian taxpayers, Asian taxpayers. It's taxpayers.
Right.
And so we should not assume that it has anything to do with whatever ethnicity you belong to. It has everything to do with the fact that you need the information.
Yeah.
You need to know that if you're in business and you have been affected, there is relief.
Mm-hmm.
So look for it.
Yeah.
And we're here. We're going to give it to you.
Look, I'm trying to give you as much information as possible. I didn't even know. I started pulling stuff down. I was like, oh, wow, that's information I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, so I talked about the fact that unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that if you said, oh, I'm going back to work and stop your unemployment,
mm-hmm.
that and the employer lays you back off because they can't keep the doors open and it's all COVID related,
right?
That you cannot get unemployment again,
right?
And I was like, what? I mean, that's just
well, of
crazy
course.
to me.
And so people are trying to determine, what do we do?
So, but then there's also the other thing was that if your employer comes to you and says, hey, we're going to give you back your job, same wages, everything, same hours,
mm-hmm.
and you decline, your benefits will terminate. You will not be eligible for those benefits any longer.
Right, but because the benefits was because you were forced
mm-hmm.
to be laid off by our government.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were forced to be laid off. Now you can go back to work.
Yeah.
So it's,
like, I make more money on
It's
unemployment.
not a vacation.
No,
it's work. So if you don't want to go back to work, then consider yourself starting a business.
Right.
Look at your skills. Look at what you've been doing since you've been off of work,
mm-hmm.
and determine, is that an opportunity for you to make money doing it for others, contracting.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I also want to mention, Tabitha, before we close our podcast today, is that we're also looking at creating access to helping our members do joint ventures.
Okay.
And that means if there is a $10 million project and we have 5 or 6 members
right.
that can actually perform on that project, then I think that is an opportunity to bring capacity together, and through coming together and everybody having a role to play and and working within that project, how
mm-hmm.
they can start to build their own personal capacity. But I think now it's something that, because of this disaster,
mm-hmm.
being able to pool people together,
right,
to be able to
definitely
get contracts.
Changing the community.
Yeah, because now we have to look at what is working now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is a disaster should make us start to think, and not just think, but think about
right.
something.
Building a plan to do something different. So one of the things that before everybody was in this great big rush to get where they're going and maintain and keep what they had going on.
Mm-hmm.
But this disaster forced us to reset.
Mm-hmm.
So when all of us were forced home to stay shelter in place, except for, the essential group.
Right.
The thing about that, we had to make a decision for our businesses on
mm-hmm.
how we were going to pivot to stay in business.
Right.
Because business wasn't going to stop. It was just going to change. It just automatically just changed. So we had to figure out how to pivot.
Yeah.
But for those people who were in positions where they got furloughed, laid off, and terminated because the business had to close, there was
mm-hmm.
no option. There was no way to keep those doors
mm-hmm.
open.
Mm-hmm.
I've met a lot of them. I met a few ladies who had made a decision that they were going to take the skill set that they had and turn it into a business. So while they were sheltering in place
mm-hmm.
and still working on some of the smaller things
mm-hmm.
that they could do from home,
mm-hmm.
they actually began coaching programs.
Mm-hmm.
For business
mm-hmm.
owners.
Mm-hmm.
They began. They picked up. There's a lot of people that were starting to pick up other products, goods, and services.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of things, and people just need to figure out. Your side hustle can be your primary hustle, but you have to get started.
We don't want to call it a hustle.
hustle.
Your side skills.
Yes, I know. Let's talk about a hustle, because we got to hustle get here. But it's not a hustle. It's just that one thing that our side job,
mm-hmm.
the one thing that we do on the side, can actually turn into our primary.
Yeah.
But we have to build a plan around it. Then a great part about that, the great thing I like about it is the fact that because you can join Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce,
mm-hmm.
you can actually get the help and assistance to get everything in place during this time.
Most definitely.
And it can be done through webinars, right?
Well, webinars, and of course, we reduced our contact
Right.
hours, but we never closed our door.
Correct.
And we started doing webinars, and we took a survey, and our survey showed that members are still looking at being
In-person
attending
training.
workshops,
Mhm.
training, as well as webinars. So there will be some webinars that we will do when we want to get information out,
Right.
and then we'll do in-person training.
Mhm.
So we basically have targeted June.
Yeah.
No, we've targeted June.
I know, because we have to wait until everybody says for sure who we.
Yeah, we targeted June. And we've always, for some reason, we wasn't aware of social. Well, we took social distancing in another way. It was, when I don't know if I said this before, but when my grandson said he had 10,000 friends, to me that was social distancing.
Oh my gosh.
He don't.
Okay.
I mean, he has 10,000 friends.
He has 10,000 followers.
10,000 people on his
on social
Facebook
media.
page, which is his social media, and they are truly distant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they send each other pictures and things like that. So, we've been practicing social distancing ever since, I'm going to say, Facebook. So that's my take on it, okay? However, we've always have done things in-house, and we've only had 6 people at a time.
Right.
So we never had a big group of people in our workshops.
I'd like to comment on that. The fact that you only have 6 people in the room for your workshops is actually really good for me, because and I think for other people, there's a difference between having a 1-to-6 ratio versus having a 1-to-24 or
Right.
a 1-to-50 ratio.
Yes.
The amount of detail that goes into that 1-to-6 ratio actually helps for a lot of the information to stick and stay.
Mm-hmm.
So when I leave those workshops, I actually feel like I've actually was a part of it.
Yeah.
Versus being talked to.
Yeah.
With the stuff going either above my head or just dropping right before me.
Right. And it's a lot of it creates synergy.
Right.
Because those 6 members now know what someone else do, and will be able to say, because I've noticed, and it makes me feel very good, that everybody exchanged their business cards.
Yeah.
Or they exchange information, and they have followed up with each other after. So if this is one way that we can keep members connected to each other, then we are still going to have our 4 members only training,
6.
because that is part of what we do in our mission. This is what we say we do, and we're committed to what we do for our members. But there are times when we want to just give out information.
Right.
So we will be giving out information when we're doing our webinars. We've already gave out some information on there right now. I hope anyone that is listening is beginning to realize, and should be documenting some things, that there is more webinars, more information out there about business opportunities.
Yes.
Now, look
Absolutely.
at what we're going through.
We're
going through a disaster, a crisis.
Yes.
And there is business opportunities. More than you can. Tabitha, just today we heard about $18 million
for one precinct. So I think as I was going through all of this, it's amazing that even when this pandemic first started, there were I was getting bids in my inbox, and I went after one was over $8 million. Just if I would have gotten any line item, I would have made, there would have been a lot of money to be made there.
Right.
But people are like, well, education is closed, academics are closed, right? But they have money they have to spend. The money's there, so so business didn't stop at all.
No,
It said, okay, we're gonna do it. Our timeline has moved up.
Right.
Things have changed slightly, and so it's up to us to go out there and figure out: do we want to participate, or do we want to sit on the sidelines and say, "Hey, I didn't know that existed."
Yeah.
Think
about this. Think about these. What, the last 2 or 3 months? Well, 2 months at least.
2 months, yes.
2, going on 3.
Yep, going on 3.
Think of in terms of these 3 months as a pause.
Yep.
Now, why do you pause anything? Now, if you got your remote control in your hand and you're watching something, you're either going to pause it so that you can rewind and see what it was that you missed, or you're going to pause it because you have something that you need to do.
Right. You don't want to miss anything, right?
Correct.
You don't want to
So
miss it.
this is just a pause.
Correct.
You don't want to miss anything. You rewind, go back and look at what has happened before, how you recovered, and as you use the word pivot, I'll use the another word, and how do you adjust,
right,
and make new things happen.
Yeah, the Marine Corps, what do they say? Overcome and adapt? Is that what that is? I don't know. One of the military, they say that.
No clue.
I know, but I've heard it so much down here. And so what they always tell them, you have to adapt to your environment.
Exactly.
You can't sit and just continue to do the same thing.
Yeah. I spoke to someone who has a soul food restaurant. Well, let's say and when we say soul food, we're talking about the types of foods that is on the menu every day.
Awesome.
Okay. And they were like, well, I guess we're out of business.
Why?
Because we've been shut down. Now, if shut down means that people can't come in and sit down,
you gotta figure out how to get the food to them.
Then you're not shut down. They eat food. You have clientele, you have customers. They eat. Why not? Now you see what everybody else is doing.
Right.
I'm not gonna call the names because I don't want to. I'm not going to give out free advertising. Okay, but they have not stopped providing food.
Nope. And actually, a lot of the restaurants have put up tents and have mapped out a process for you to come in, pick up your food, and move on. And I also have a friend who has he repurposes locker systems for food pickup. So that is another way for restaurants, the ones like the one you're talking about, soul food restaurant, to actually place something like that up and allow the person who's coming to pick up the food to pick up their food without contact free.
Yeah, just pay for everything, and all you do is just pick it up.
Yep, that's it.
And the pickup is, why not dinner?
Yeah.
People eat dinner.
People are tired of cooking at home. They've had to learn.
They gotta cook. They didn't have to cook at home, remember?
They didn't have to cook.
The only thing they had to do at home was find dinner.
Yep.
So now, give them dinner because they've had a long day.
Sometimes dinner is cereal.
Well, give them dinner now. Make them feel special.
Right.
Because now they got a full spread of dinner. Yep. Because they've had to do breakfast and they've had to do lunch. And by that time, they are stressed out.
Yeah. It's just a matter of figuring out how to do business differently. So even for you, for the chamber, you were one where you were bringing people in the building, into the office all the time, like on a regular basis. Out, you had daily meetings. But because you had to not do that anymore, you had to find another way to do business. Because you weren't willing to close the doors and cut off communication with your members.
Correct.
So I love the fact that you found another way to do your business, conduct your business, and still disseminate the proper information to the proper people. And they appreciated it at the end of it. Cause
let me share.
I'm telling you, because of one webinar, man, there was before registration, it was like 30-something people that registered, and then it just continued to go up from there. So it's an opportunity to really take a look at your business and say, what can I do that's different?
Yeah, and this is what the survey was about. Excuse me. The survey was about how do we, I guess I need water, huh? How do we continue to serve our members without stopping?
Right. Yes.
Without stopping, now, one thing, for me, it was essential for me to be able to continue to be in planning mode. Okay, so it's very, so what I did, Tabitha, I reduced my hours. Okay, I would come in from 1 to 5 instead of 9 to 9.
But I still think you were working a whole entire day. You weren't in the office, but you were working still the whole entire day.
No, seriously,
Right,
I was trying not to.
Man, that didn't work. I'm letting you know that didn't work.
Well, let me put it like this. Coming in, well, we did webinars,
Yeah.
so that was earlier. But coming in and staying from 1 to 5, believe it or not, I got more done than when I would come in at 9
Right.
and leave at 9.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're re-evaluating what it is that you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and how do you continue to get information out there with what's going on, then you get more done when you're planning.
Right. Yes, this is true.
Okay, because I had office hours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna say it like 9 to 9, 10 to 10.
Yeah, it was tough.
Okay,
Like,
so
wow.
now going in just to be there to think,
Mm-hmm.
and everything is around me. And so I'm sure some people feel like everything at home is not there, and I was one of those. I was one of those people that felt like home
It's supposed to be just home and not.
will be
not
home.
work.
I don't do no work when I
Mhm.
go home. I need to go home and chill out
Right.
and decompress.
Yes.
Okay, so
But I mean, I think, and I know what that feels like, because you just want to go home, yes, and decompress, and
Yeah.
just like and just wash away the day, so
Yeah.
to speak.
mm-hmm.
But now we're forced to kind of work and play in the same space.
Yeah.
But so I just want to ask, what did you do? Did you have to build a plan once you realized that some of these things were going to happen, and you were going to be forced to kind of shelter in place at least part time?
Yeah.
Did you build a plan for yourself to say how you were going to go about doing that?
Yes, I did. I built a plan for myself.
See, a plan. A plan is
Yes,
important.
It was a plan. Because normally I have office hours.
Right.
You get there and then you look at what you got to do, and then you figure out how you're going to do this, and you get telephone calls. And so now that it could not happen that way. Things still needed to be done.
Right.
And so I had a few hours to get it done.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, I didn't have the walk-ins.
No walk-ins are good. No more walk-ins.
The walk-ins will come in, and it's a part of your day.
Mm-hmm.
You know that there are people who call and says, I want to come by. So now I had to be a little bit more structured in how I handled my day.
Right.
And it was amazing to me that I got more done
No,
in a few hours.
Not really. For me, and I know I had to build a plan also for myself. So when so I talked about before how building a plan is extremely important, because it gives you focus, and it gives you the opportunity to understand where you're trying to go and how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
What vehicle you're going to use. So for me, I kind of stepped back and realized that the partnerships that I have forged, that I was not going to be able to continue having those check-ins, because I had like daily check-ins with the clients that I worked with, and so I said, okay, let me step back, because what they were dealing with was more important, which was the academics of a student. So I just stepped back and waited until we knew we weren't going back to school.
Right.
And then at that time, I just took a look at my to-do list and restructured it in a way where I can have the greatest amount of impact for the time that I have that is not going to be engaging with our partners, right? And so by doing that, I've actually accomplished a lot more faster, because I built out the plan and restructured my timeline to fit that. And so now for that, at the end of all of this, I will end up with a complimentary app to our app that's already out there for administrators. So we will have something very close. So all of this stuff will be in sync, but I wasn't going to be able to do that until over the summer before, but now I was able to do it a little bit earlier.
Because you had a pause.
Had a pause, have to reset and pivot a little bit. So I think that it's important to just let people know that we're all having to deal with very, very, very similar things in our careers, in our businesses, and even in our home lives. But we just have to just take a minute and write down what we're trying to accomplish, and then just map it out. Because believe it or not, that's how we're going to get there.
Well, it gave us time When I say us, I'm talking about Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce and our board of directors. And we created a task force, and it gave us time to come up with a playbook. So we have a playbook.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yes, it's gonna come out, and because we're definitely in the game of business.
Yes.
Our members are in the game of business, and so when you're in the game, you gotta know how to win.
Yes.
Even if you don't win this time, you gotta know how to plan to win next time. So it's about winning, and you've heard when people talk about it's not whether you win or lose.
It's how you play the game.
And we have a playbook that we will be unveiling over the next few months, and that playbook is going to be, I mean, I have to tell you, we're excited. We see it, and we will be it, and we will do it, and our members will benefit greatly from this playbook. So we're coaching. We're going to be the coach. We're going to be defensive coaches, offensive coaches. We're going to be the line coach. We're going to be everything that game needs in order for our team to win.
And I think that's awesome, because a lot of people, we know that when we start our businesses, we're like, we have to do all things because we're the only person in the group. But at the end of the day, when we don't know all things that need to go into that business. So when we surround ourselves with people who can support and fill in those gaps, that's when we are able to become more successful. We kind of level up to where we were, to where we're going.
Yeah, and I do want to say that when we think in terms of small, we think in terms of sometimes the one.
Insignificant is the word.
The one. And the business is more than the one.
Right.
So we have to learn we have to be able to put these things together. We need to plan. How do I operate? What do I need to operate? Put it on paper.
Yep.
Businesses have to be capitalized.
Right. We have to figure it out.
It has to be capitalized. If you need an administrative assistant, they need to be paid. Okay.
Everybody's in it for money somewhere, some way.
You gotta pay your administrative assistant. So what do you need? You need the money to pay your administrative assistant. You can't make the money and pay, because administrative assistant says, well, your check didn't come in today, but that don't mean my money. That don't mean I didn't work for my money today.
I need to be there. I need that check to be there so I can show up for you tomorrow.
Okay. Right. So business has to be capitalized. And the missing link that I think that we missed is that job creation is a big component of being capitalized.
Correct. And they talked about it. So small businesses are pretty much the backbone of the United States, right? That's how our economy is continues to thrive. The larger companies that are out there, they're out there, but they originally started out small.
Yeah.
And so they started off just on the lower side of things, but they already knew where their growth was going to go and how they knew where they wanted to go. And now it was just a matter of put the plan in place to get them there. But we all have to start somewhere, and so it's important to understand that we just need to put the right things in place in order to make sure that we're successful and able to continue to proceed through this.
Yeah.
And don't consider, like, I'm a small business because of, by definition, that's what I am. But I'm not insignificant in business. I'm not only the one in business. It's just I had to get to the place where I understood that I am just starting, but in the next 10, 15 years, I'm going to be well off the ground, moving through. But I still in somebody's eyes may still be considered small, but that doesn't make me insignificant.
Well, we're not. The insignificant part, definitely we have to look at ourselves and when we say small business owners, we have to look at ourselves as we're starting.
Right.
And we're starting at a place that we feel that we can handle.
Yes.
Okay. However, if we don't know all the places that is involved in what we're handling, we do need someone. We need coaches. We need people. We need mentors that can say, this is what you will probably want to have on board.
Look into,
if you're going to be out there, are you going to be the account executive, the person going out selling your product? Mm-hmm. If you are, then who's manning the books and keeping up with everything?
Right.
You are not the jack of all trades.
No.
But you have to determine where your skill level is and what skills you need to bring on.
Right.
So in developing your business plan to start a business or to even expand your business, you've got to look at job creation.
Yep.
You got to create a job for somebody.
There's 30 million people looking for jobs. So
you got to create a job for somebody, because that is, if you've ever been involved in multi-level marketing.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay.
Only once.
So multi-level marketing is about duplication.
Yes.
So if you're creating a business, the way you're going to make money is you got to duplicate what it is that your business or what you're doing in establishing your business.
This is true.
You got to have employees. Mm-hmm. So you got to have somebody.
Yeah.
But I think most of us want to start or do start, and I'm proud of us, because we jump out there. we gon' jump, and I am so glad there's always some kind of arms to catch us.
Yes.
Okay. We think in terms of, I don't have the money to pay somebody. That's how we think. Yes. I believe. I've talked to a lot of people,
and that's the first thing I said too.
I don't have enough money to pay anybody, so I'm going to have to do what I can do, and we are limited individually of what we can't run the whole business.
Correct.
We have skills, and we can do some stuff, but when it comes to keeping our records, making the kind of documentations that's needed,
right?
Making phone calls, making sure the door is open.
Yep.
Have you ever gone to a business and they had
open? They say open, but when you pull a door, they don't.
And then they have a note up there, out to lunch, or be back in 15 minutes.
Well, when did that 15 minutes start?
Be back in an hour, because there's nobody there.
Right.
And someone needs to be there.
Right.
You've heard this phrase before, I'm sure, Tabitha. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. That is very, very true. If you're in business, it's going to engage other people.
Right.
You're going to engage somebody. So if you're not ready, or you're not at a place where you figured out as a business owner what this other person can do for me, then at least have a network.
Yes.
And we are
the network. I love that.
Okay.
For sure.
You remember? What do you start a radio show with?
Oh, that's
when
right.
When the right connections matter.
Right. Yes, when the right connections matter, connect to the right network.
Yeah, and that network is one. You got tons of networks.
Yes, you have to choose the one that fits you, though, because that's the thing. Is when I went out searching, and I was a searching, I didn't find a network out there that fit me, and sometimes I became extremely discouraged that I could not find that, and they're like, oh, we're the right one for you, but when I got there, it was like, and I wanted to say, no, you're the wrong one for me.
Yeah.
You know, but when I found this one, I was like, I walked away saying, I think I found my network. No, I didn't think. I knew I found my network, and I was like, oh, goodness gracious. But look how long it took me to find one.
Well, sometimes it's just being persistent.
Yeah.
And it's actually being persistent and knowing what it is I think the biggest thing that we don't do is we don't acknowledge that we don't know everything.
Yes. And sometimes, it's okay to say I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes we just know what we know, and that's good enough. I know this, and I'm gonna move forward with
Hold on to it.
But we don't know everything. And if you have 10 people in the room, well, let's just say if you have 26 people in the room.
Okay.
I use that 20. Do you know why I use the number 26?
You're about to divide it into something. Go
ahead.
No,
it's the alphabets.
Oh, yeah.
We got 26 alphabets, right? If you know A, and somebody else knows B, and another person knows C, and each person knows their alphabet.
Yes.
Do you know how many words we could create?
A ton. Apparently, millions.
A zillion words. And we are working together to create it. So you have to have other people involved, not necessarily directly involved with what you're doing,
right?
But from being involved, you get mentors, you get coaches, you get consultants, you get people who can discuss with you on a specific point,
right?
That you need. I'm having a problem with this, and we can't be so closed off.
Right. We need to be open-minded. We won't
say I got a problem, because you know what? You're not the only person with the problem. Somebody had it before, and they'll figure out how it works and how the problem can be resolved, and they can share that with you.
You're right. That's why.
But if you don't, what they say, if you don't open up your mouth, you will not get fed.
Oh wait, so closed mouths don't get fed.
That's right.
I get told that every other day.
Yeah. If you keep your mouth closed.
Yep.
Ain't nobody gonna be able to put no food in it.
Right.
You're not gonna be.
We're not gonna be eating.
If you just want to eat what you put in there, okay.
Oh no, okay.
But there is other stuff that can come. Information can come to you. But you have to be open to receive it. And there are laws. There are certain. I say business is a science.
Right.
You have people who says, well, I had a partner and things didn't work out and I don't want no partners no more. Well, how did you have that partner?
Yeah, right.
If you and that partner did not have a written agreement as to, because I find that partners are people who initially connect for some reason.
Yes.
They connect some kind of way.
A reason.
And if that connection falls apart, I believe it's because they didn't understand.
The expectations wasn't set.
Exactly, and they didn't understand. What am I to do? Or I'm feeling this way and you're feeling that way, but we came in this together. But when you came in there together, how did you come in there together?
Right. So that's the importance of joint ventures, right? The way that people combine their resources and do business together.
Exactly.
In that way.
You have to spell it out.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to be doing. And the biggest thing with those partnerships or joint ventures,
right,
or if you're working with other people, is to know what the benefit is for you.
Right. So
what you're giving, and what's coming back.
Okay.
But you need to know that up front. You don't need to wait until the money comes and now everybody now everybody want to decide who get what.
You're right. No, it needs to be put in place early on.
Exactly.
So I know that we wanted to talk a little bit about international.
Well, July is going to be our international month.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk more about our international, because we're going to have more, because even right now with Congress providing things for American, we also have things that's going on that the U.S. is doing for people who are doing exporting.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's awesome.
So, and then other countries are developing plans for what we call investments. Okay. So every country, the U.S. has what we call a foreign. My mind is slipping me right now. It's called a foreign foreign direct investments.
Okay.
The U.S. has the same program. They want people from other countries to invest in the U.S., but there are other countries who want people to invest in them.
Okay.
So July is our international month, and there'll be a lot of things going on in the month of July. But the reason I guess we don't want to, I'm kind of being hesitant of giving out a lot of information, is because we still got to, borders in other countries have to be open.
Right, so that's important.
Yeah, so we do anticipate by the end of this month. So we could tell our listeners to stay tuned.
There you go, stay tuned.
Stay tuned, because we will have some information on our international initiatives.
Yeah, because we can take our businesses from here, and we can potentially put them over somewhere else.
Well, anytime you're talking about, at one time, the U.S., United States of America, this land mass was a developing country.
Right.
Okay.
So everyone has to develop somewhere.
It was a developing country.
Mm-hmm.
And those who came in during that phase will now say they are old money. And their money keeps multiplying. It never goes, it doesn't seem to go away.
So it's generational wealth.
It just doesn't seem to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Because you put things in place to where there will always be coming back.
So it's a growth thing. We can actually talk about the fact that you may start the business. You and Mike is not going to love.
Yeah, we love each other.
We have to grow, scale our businesses, and sometimes, and we're looking at it from a generational standpoint. It's not just. I heard a comment today earlier. What is it? Generational contracts. So contracts that can be passed from the matriarchs down to the next group, down to the next group. So I didn't know that you can actually that some of the contracts that we do with some of the government entities can be generational contracts.
Of course.
And so, but I didn't know that.
Because, yeah.
But that's one thing, I didn't know that. But if I didn't know that, I'm pretty sure there's at least one other person.
Well, there's a lot of information. There's tons of information. Information has to be sometimes deciphered.
Right.
You can hear something, and if you're not exposed to the terminology, it's like we got acronyms.
Yes.
You want to hide something? Put it in an acronym. And then you can say it's in plain sight.
That is true.
Okay. So put it in an acronym. It's in plain sight. It's there. How did you miss it? Because you didn't know what it meant.
Right.
You didn't have the words, and nobody told you that meant that. So when you saw it, you didn't relate to it. It didn't
resonate.
It didn't resonate at all. Because how could it? Because if you see B-E-N, we learned in grade school spells Ben.
Ben, right.
And Ben is what? Just somebody's name. Okay. So if you see B-E-N, what would trigger that meant something to you?
Right.
For instance, I'm going to use hub. H-U-B. Everybody can tell you, I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 people gave me all kind of definitions
for a hub.
Yeah, what they thought a hub was, a H-U-B. And they were all right. What do you call, when you say an airline had a hub, this is where they actually, their planes, what we say FedEx hub is what, Memphis?
Right.
That's a hub. Anything that has, that things come from and come back to that particular place, right?
Right.
Everybody had a definition of a hub. So when I said, well, let me tell you what this hub means. Historically, underutilized business.
Yes.
Now it's like, well, what does that mean? Now they've heard the 3 words. So what is it? It creates now questions.
But it also too, for that one, it also says where else can I go? So So historically underutilized businesses, it becomes, okay, so what does that mean to me?
Yeah,
how can
it creates a question.
How can I do that, or how can I be a part of something?
What is it?
And what does that mean to me?
Yeah. What does the historic underutilized business mean?
Yeah.
It means basically, historically,
you were ignored.
Certain businesses were not being utilized.
Right.
So now we have a program for those businesses.
Yes.
And now it keeps the more you learn, the more there is to learn.
Yes. And that's true. So we just have to get with a network, make sure that we got the right people in our camp. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I really want to impress upon anyone listening is that customer service. Okay, so I'm going to give you my experience, and that is why I'm doing this, right?
Okay.
This is funny. This just happened. So I contacted an insurance company. I said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and shift my policies over to you. I'm not happy with, these people on the right-hand side. Mm-hmm. And so the left-hand side apparently went talk to the right-hand side because they were looking to pull the policies. So the right-hand side calls me and says, hey, I hear you're unhappy. And I said, here's the deal. At the end of the day, I've left doctor's offices for the same reason. When I show up in a doctor's office, or when I show up in someone's office, mm-hmm. or I make a phone call, and the customer service is bad, if the customer service is not good, if it makes me feel uncomfortable, if it makes me angry, mm-hmm. I don't want to stay there. I don't care who's behind the door. Mm-hmm. And so I expressed to him what my concerns were with that. And he's like, well, that's not our intent. That's not what we want to do. And I explained to him that ultimately doctors are losing business because their front office staff is so not nice to the people who are paying the bills, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And so I just want people to understand that most of the businesses I see that my friends are accompanying with, a lot of other fellow business owners say the customer service was so bad. 3 out of 5 times I'm complaining about the customer service. Mm-hmm. So now's a good time to kind of do an inventory or do a survey to determine what is your customer base looking for customer service. What can I do that's different so that now you can set yourself apart from anybody else doing the same type of business, but because your customer service is above board, they're mm-hmm. going to be more inclined to come and do business with you versus do business with someone else who has a really nasty background or who has a really nasty thing,
Well, Tabitha, I will share with you. This is some things it's like gold. If you discovered gold in the year 1120, mm-hmm. it's still gold in the year 2020.
This is true.
Okay? So some things that have been taught and put into play are sometimes lost.
Yes.
Okay? So when we talk about customer service, what we were taught back in the day?
Oh my.
The customer is right.
Wrong.
No. See, that's where it changed. That is where it changed, because now the person who's working is deciding that they're wrong and I need to correct them. But if you, as the customer service person, if you're handling your customers and you're providing service to your customers, then they are right. And they're only right for one reason.
Because they're paying?
Because they're expecting to get something from you that you promised to give.
Okay. And
they're right in their thinking.
This is true. I can appreciate that.
Okay. So this is why it's very difficult for customer service, because we're not thinking that the customer is right.
Right.
We're thinking the customer is wrong. And if the customer's wrong, we need to get them right.
Right.
And this is why our attitude comes like, and it's disrespect. If we think the customer's wrong, if we think the customer's not paying attention to us, if we're thinking about us,
right,
then we're being very disrespectful. And that lends bad customer service. So if we get back to the customer's right, we will treat customers differently.
So I believe that the customer is right, but I believe that it's my responsibility to set the expectation for the customer so that we can be on the same page.
No, wait a minute. What do you mean when you say
Setting the
set the expect? The customer already has an expectation.
Well, wait. It depends on what we're offering. So based on the offering, based on what we're providing to them, it outlines for me. It outlines what we're supposed to do with them and for them, and then anything outside of that, we'll just let them know that's not our general practices. But however, we're going to go ahead and do this for you at this time.
Okay, but that still doesn't mean that the customer needs to be set straight.
No, I didn't say set straight. I just need to set the expectation for the services that I'm providing.
No, the customer has expectations, period. This is what I'm trying to tell you. The customer has expectations. So the customer calls you and say, look, how do I get my $1 million? Well, we don't give out $1 million, but what else can we give you?
Right, okay.
Because if you have the attitude of setting the customer straight,
I'm not setting anybody straight.
Or even setting the expectation that the customer should have, that's where we fall short. Okay. Because the customer is the customer, and they're gonna have their expectations about what they pay for. Because the customer didn't pay, and we just have to accept that. They want something in return for their money.
I don't know, I guess I'm going to have to go back and revisit this a little bit more. I have to think about it from your standpoint and see if there's some way
this is why I say,
but I'm extremely kind
this
with
is
my
why
customers.
I say customer service was much better than it is
now.
Than it is now.
But I treat my customers, the partnerships that I've forged, I treat them very well. So I'm very happy for that.
Good.
All right, so today was a great day. We did some great things.
Yes, we talked about documenting what you're already experiencing in a crisis, and when the next crisis comes. So believe there will be another one. Be ready.
Be ready. That's right. And continue on business. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to thank our sponsors again. Southwest Airlines is a proud air travel sponsor of Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. And we'd also like to thank Permacore Business Solutions. And I wanted to say that if you're interested in advertising on the radio show or come in and visit us as a strategic partner on the podcast, go ahead and head over to tcbcc.org for more information about how to get advertised and do a business showcase.
Yes.
You can also make sure to tune in to gmtradio.com 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday for Let's Talk Business business radio show.
And they can also reach us by phone.
You want to give out the number?
Yeah, get out the phone number.
Go ahead.
832-875-3977.
Whoop, whoop. Go ahead. Make those phone calls. Everybody, thank you for listening, and thank you for joining us today. We are, when the right connections matter, connect to the right network. Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. Have a great weekend.
You too, dear.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.